Hey, Andy, my man, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Elisha. How are you today?
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here, you see. I truly appreciate it. And you see, Andy, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become an anthem for me. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Andy, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Andy, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, and I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely moment that day for me. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Andy that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, and how you're offering your solutions. Your journey so far, these stuffs are beautiful. And I said to myself, just before you got a text from me, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Andy is doing, not only me now, but even the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Andy. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing else you could do about it. Thank you so much, my man. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the invite. Absolutely.
Beautiful. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Andy, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, and I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very, very important to me and even to the listeners. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Andy on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Andy, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, my man, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Andy, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Andy got here. And afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Andy, my man, over to you.
Thank you. I would say, Elisha, how I got here was through a lot of difficulty and a example from my ancestors of perseverance, not quitting, and continuing on despite or in spite of any number of hardships. So whether that was sexual abuse as a child, whether that was losing my mother to cancer or losing a number of people who were important in my life in some way, their passing from this world, whether it was my own battle with stage 4, my own struggle, which continues today against stage 4 pancreatic cancer. But I am close to 7 years from diagnosis, so I'm of a small number of people who have had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and are still here to talk about it. Or my son took his own life, so the suicide of a child, the loss of a child. I think through those things, I asked, early on in life, I had read the story of Solomon, where the angel comes to Solomon and says, your father David is and held in high regard, so God's going to give you what you wish for. And he said, well, if I want everything, if I want money, power, whatever, then what I'll take is wisdom, because if I have wisdom, then I can be successful in anything. And obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but that's generally the way it went. And so the angel said, that's a very wise choice in and of itself, so you'll have wisdom. And I was naive enough to think that if I asked for wisdom, that it would be granted to me. I think what happens is we can become wiser. I don't know if we ever become wise, but we can become wiser. The challenge is that how we become wiser is through overcoming the obstacles of life, surviving through and persisting through the setbacks in life. My grandfather had a saying, which was, experience is the thing you get just after you needed it. And I think wisdom comes from experience, and experience comes from doing things maybe in a suboptimal way. You might have done it differently once you've had the experience. So I think my story is really about persistence, perseverance, ultimately. And that's where my 15 core beliefs come out of, is that idea that you have to be able to survive through the experiences of life that help you become wiser. And that over time, those little, as you said, those little grains of sand, those nuggets of wisdom will ultimately lead to the success that you pursue, whether that's in, in your health, in your mental health, in your spiritual health, in business, in your family, whatever that is. We have to persevere through, and we have to finish those experiences so we can gain those nuggets of wisdom, so we can become more wise each day, so that we can ultimately become successful in what we pursue.
Profound words. I tell you, I love the last part. I love the part where you said we become wiser by overcoming obstacles. That's a deep statement. In your story, I found very touching and inspiring. And the fact that you are still standing, using your solution to help folks, it's amazing. So that's going to lead to me asking, what motivated you to write Overcoming Life's Toughest Setbacks?
My family physician and some and some other folks thought, pardon me, thought that I should write a book about my experiences specifically. Whether it would in particular, they wanted me to write a book about having gone through cancer and all the treatments and being in cancer trials and still being alive. One day, I told him I didn't want to do that. I really didn't want to relive things just for the purpose of reliving them. But one day I sat down and I realized that I had written down these 15 core beliefs over time. Over the years, I'd kind of collected these statements that helped me, and they help me still to remember principles, how to deal with problems when they show up. They're aspirational. I don't always apply them as well as I would like to, but they are there to remind me of ways to get through challenges and what I have to do, no matter how difficult those challenges are, the loss of a child or a dire cancer diagnosis. And so what I decided to do was I would write about the core beliefs and then work to apply those to the different experiences that I'd had in life. How did I get through each of these experiences was applying one or more of the core beliefs. So the book became about sharing the core beliefs, not as a prescriptive way to solve a problem, or to overcome a setback, but as a way to to share with people the ideas that they could then adopt and adapt to their unique circumstances, their unique nature. So they are my guiding principles, my core beliefs. I believe there are I think the core beliefs are universal in kind of their broad sense, and I think that gives them the ability to be applied individually to the circumstances that someone is in, and they can adapt them to the way that they think and the way that they operate.
Awesome, my man. So I'm still curious about the core beliefs. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, beautiful. So I said, if someone could only remember just one core belief from your book, which one should it be and who?
It would be no one outruns the universe. I believe that, in my personal belief, I believe that there is a creator and that the creator set the guidelines, the rules of the universe. We're beginning to understand some of those rules, whether it is, the dimensions of the universe, quantum mechanics, string theory, all of these kind of physics-oriented views of the universe. I believe that the creator set them up in a way and that we are best served and we can survive and overcome these setbacks in our lives if we work inside the principles of the universe. Some of those things are, I think it is, the universe has a way of speaking to you. I think, it speaks to you in a very still, small voice. I think, your intuition, in the Christian faith, it would be, the Holy Spirit. But the way that you are given information is in a quiet voice, not in a loud voice. I think the loud voice that we hear is more often than not a voice of confusion, anxiety, fear. And so one of the principles I think that's behind the universe is you have to quiet your mind and listen for the quiet voice, the small, still voice. I think a principle, you can't outrun the universe from the situations that you faced and the scars that they've left. You have to face those and take responsibility for them. You can't just say that you've had this difficult situation. You were sexually abused as a child, and so you hold anger and animosity and you view the world in a very negative way. That's still your responsibility. You're not responsible for what happened to you, but we are responsible for what we do with our lives to improve ourselves, to not let those experiences cause us to create bad experiences for other people. So I think a principle of the universe is that you have to face your own problems and your own shortcomings, and that the sooner you face them, the better your life will be. So, and that can apply to business. If you're stealing or you're not taking care of your customer and you're only thinking of yourself, then I think a principle of the universe is, you can't outrun the universe. That's not the way business is done. If you're pursuing dishonorable pursuits, the universe will have a way of bringing you back and showing you. Sometimes it shows you in a nice, easy way and hopes that you get the message the first time. And sometimes it doesn't and makes the lesson very painful. But eventually, it will bring you back or offer you an opportunity to right your course. And so I think it's just a guiding principle. Kind of the baseline of all the core beliefs is no one outruns the universe. Have humility, listen, and take responsibility for your actions. Because if you don't, the universe will help you come to a place where you will take responsibility.
Have humility, listen, and take responsibility for your actions. I got. So there's this one also. How have you processed the loss of your son? And what would you say to others who are currently facing similar?
I would say that one of my goals was to reach a place of forgiveness. And whether that, in this case, in the case of suicide, there is a lot of anger and disappointment, sadness, grief, loss, all these emotions that are attached to the loss of a child in any way, shape, or form. If the child is lost for a different reason, someone, that anger becomes focused on someone. It could be your spouse, it could be your sibling, it could be your friends, Could be somebody you don't know at the gas station or at work. You just start taking out anger on them. I think anytime there is a loss, someone will ultimately need to be forgiven for us to be free from the anger, from the grief, from the loss. And what I have found is that in the way that I think I got there, I observed this afterwards, was that it's very difficult to forgive someone when you are still being assaulted, in a sense, by the emotion of what's happened. And so anger about what happened, whether it's the loss of my son or childhood sexual abuse, I can't really forgive any of those people. And forgiveness is really about the individual that's doing the forgiving. It's not about the person that you're forgiving. You're not excusing someone else. So how I think I have gotten through it is I had to first let go of the emotion of anger toward my son for taking his own life. Once I got, and that took a lot of different techniques. I did different kinds of therapy. I pursued finding a way to release the anger and the negative emotions. So it's kind of like if you're being assaulted, if someone is punching you in the face, it's very difficult to forgive them while they're still punching you, right? While they're still harming you. You can only forgive them after the assault stops. And so I feel like that's kind of the way it is with anger, disappointment, grief, sadness, all these emotions. If they're still holding on to us, then we can't really get to forgiveness, because every time we think about forgiveness, we're thinking about the event. In the case of my son, for me to forgive him, I would have to think about him taking his life. And thinking about that would make me angry, sad, disappointed. So to get to forgiveness, I think the first step is you have to release the emotions that you have about the experience that you had. I had to release the emotions of being sexually abused as a child before I could come to a place of forgiveness. The same thing for my son. To forgive him, I had to come to a place where I had released the anger toward what he had done, the disappointment. So I think that's how I have worked. I am not still fully past it. It's been 4 years. This next week, actually, from the time we record this, will be 4 years. But I'm getting better, and I was able to say out loud that I forgave him probably a year and a half or 2 years after he took his life. And the release of the anger and the ability to forgive him, what it really did was it lightened my burden. It gave me the opportunity to start finding some happiness in each day. And I think that's how I've gotten through it, is releasing the negative emotions about the experience, forgiving him for what he did. I don't agree with it. I think it was absolutely the wrong choice. But for me to move forward, I'm still alive, and I want to stay alive, and I don't want to live a depressing life. So I wanted to forgive him and release that burden from myself. And so to do that, I had to release the negative emotions that I had about him taking his life. So that's how I think that's how I've been able to survive each day. And some days I actually find some happiness in the day.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Thank you for sharing that. That's very practical. That's very practical. Releasing the negative emotion. You're such a strong man going through all of that, and you're still standing, doing podcasts, offering your solutions with people, writing books, sharing your solutions. I tell you, it's amazing. And I love what you did with the 15 core beliefs. That's a very powerful. So to bring this to an end, Andy, for folks who would like to reach out to you, get your book, learn more about everything we've discussed, or they felt inspired, or they want to learn more about your story, or they just want to have a conversation with you, how can that be?
You can find me at my website, which is askandycampbell.com. And you can find the book, Overcoming Life Stuff as Setbacks, on Amazon. If you search use the search bar for my name, Andy Campbell. The first result you should see is the book. And so the book's available on Amazon, and my website is askandycampbell.com.
All right, beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your story and this incredible insight with us. It means a whole lot, my man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. The gratitude is all mine, Elisha.